The former UKIP leader Nigel Farage is in Berlin today, speaking at a campaign event for the Alternative for Germany party. Elections in Germany are just a few weeks away, with Angela Merkel expected to continue as Chancellor, as the head of the largest group. But the Alternative for Germany, or AfD as it's known, is predicted to win about 50 seats, although it has slipped in the polls in the past year. Launched 4 years ago, the Eurosceptic party's policies include a call to declare Islam incompatible with German culture and a plan to strip immigrants convicted of serious crimes of their German passports. So, what is Nigel Farage doing there? Well, he can tell us. He joins us now from Berlin. Welcome, Nigel. So, what are you doing getting involved in another foreign election?
Well, I've been invited here by one of the candidates for the AfD in Berlin, and somebody that sits with me in my group in the European Parliament, and I've known her a long time, way before she was in politics, and I think she's a really good person, and I'm very happy to accept that invitation. I have no formal relationship of any kind with the AfD. They're part of a different political family in Europe. But, you know, here we've got a massive election campaign going on, a debate last Sunday watched by 20 million Germans, and yet so far in this campaign, nobody is talking about Brexit, and they should be. Why? Because the Germans sell us £30 billion worth of goods every year, more than we sell them, and it's really in the interests of German companies and German workers for a sensible trade deal to be struck with the United Kingdom, and I want the argument to be made here that actually the one group of people that are holding this back and potentially damaging German jobs and their economy are the European Commission themselves. And so far, we've just not had that debate. OK,
but the AfD was supposed to ride a European wave of Eurosceptic party success. It's just not happening, is it?
Oh, yes. What's going to happen, I mean, whether you like them or don't like the AfD, what's going to happen is we're going to see on September the 25th, for the first time in modern Germany, a party that has been deeply critical of many aspects of the European Union, getting 10% plus of the vote. And this is happening in Europe's biggest country. I think actually it's quite a significant moment. OK,
and Brexit obviously was all about the UK, but are you on a personal mission to destroy the whole of the EU?
I don't believe in the European Union. I think that Europe is a wonderful, diverse continent of different peoples, different countries, different nationalities, languages, cheeses, you name it. And the idea to bring us all together to be run by a bunch of unelected old men in Brussels is not a desirable idea. It's not working. So, yeah, I believe in a Europe of nation states where we would trade together, cooperate together, on all sorts of things like cross-border crime and pollution. We'd work together as incredibly close neighbours, but not to give away our democratic rights to Brussels. And I think what you're seeing through these negotiations are the European Union, Brussels, putting their own interests above that of the peoples of Europe.
But look, there was a time when you would not be associated with the Front National, for example, and then you backed Marine Le Pen for French president. Are you now endorsing every populist right-wing European party?
No, let's be fair. In the French presidential elections, I backed Nicolas Dupont-Aignan, a conservative Eurosceptic, and been a friend of mine for many, many years, and I backed him. In the second round, had I been a French voter, would I have voted for a Eurosceptic or not? Well, that's fairly obvious. I want to repeat the point that I'm here as a result of a personal invitation. I've got no formal link with this party at all, but it is significant that they're about to get 10% of the seats in the Bundestag in Germany.
But you, of course, get a link by being there. And, the AfD is a party that some would regard as having views beyond the fringe. So, for example, Beatrix von Storck has previously suggested German border guards should use weapons against illegal female refugees. You don't want to be associated with that, do you?
No, as I say, I'm not here to get involved in the internal debate in German politics at all, other than to say there is a glaring omission, and it is quite willful that Schulz and Merkel, the leading contestants, do not wish to discuss Brexit at all, but they should be, because it's in the interests of German people to do so. And I'm here today, and I'll be in Prague next Friday, and I'm going to go all around Europe making this argument, and at least getting this argument heard. And you know something? I wish that the British government, and I wish the British Chambers of Commerce, and I wish other organisations were out round the rest of Europe doing it too, because the best way to get the best trade deal for all of us, in all of our interests, is for Brussels to be bypassed. It's for Brussels to be told by national leaders, you're doing the wrong thing.
And while you do that, there's obviously a bit of an identity crisis for your own party back in the UK.
Well, yes, I mean, they're having a leadership election, and I suppose some might say another leadership election. And we're going to have the results in a couple of weeks' time. And like all parties, I suppose, there are different wings. You know, I mean, I'm not taking sides in that. I think sort of for ex-leaders to attempt to be backseat drivers would be a very bad idea. But I would argue that UKIP really always was, from the very beginning, a party that did believe in liberty, freedom and tolerance. And, you know, I'm as worried as the next person about the rise of extremist radical Islam, about the weakness in many ways of our politicians to deal with this. But I've never wanted us to be against the religion, and I think if UKIP was to go in that direction, that would be a disaster for us.
So if Anne-Marie Waters was elected leader, would that be a death blow for the party?
Well, we'll have to see what happens, and I'm not going to commit myself. I'm not going to want to be seen to be, getting really too heavily involved in this. But what is said, at the hustings over the course of the next couple of weeks, and a chart that whoever the next leader of UKIP, he or she takes, is crucial. But if we were to go into the position where UKIP effectively was fighting a religious war, I think that probably would be pretty much the end of it.
Fantastic, Nigel. Thank you so much for joining us from Berlin.
Thank you.
All right, so what do you make of what Nigel Farage is doing out there?
Well, it's just been sad in a way. It just hasn't really happened, has it? This idea of this huge populist wave happening right across Europe. I was over in Austria last December for the presidential election there, which was probably the closest run thing we've seen to a very populist right-wing politician being elected. But it didn't happen there. It didn't happen in Holland. It's not going to happen in Germany. Obviously, it didn't happen in France either. And so I'm not quite sure why Nigel Farage, who proudly announced he's got his life back after the referendum and was supposed to be off enjoying himself, is out campaigning for this fringe right-wing party that isn't going to have a big impact on the election. The truth is Merkel's going to win by a landslide and everyone knows it.
But do you think he is trying to destroy the EU?
I think you've misunderstood what he's there for, Jack. He's not there to campaign for that party, as he said very clearly in that interview. He is there to hammer home the message that it is in the interests of German business that we get a good deal with, that they and the EU strikes a favourable deal from their point of view.
But whatever he says, ultimately, the individual countries are not going to negotiate with us.
Yeah, but we know who's calling the shots here. I mean, Germany is probably...
But is the AfD calling the shots?
Well, quite evidently not. I mean, if they're only going to poll at 10%, they're not going to be calling the shots. But I don't feel that Nigel Farage has anything to defend by being here. He is there making that point in Britain's interest.
Yeah, but he's making it on a platform next to the leader of the AfD. He's not there gone to make a big speech to the Chambers of Commerce or something, has he?
And he's certainly not making any intervention in the UKIP leadership right now.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.